So today's lesson on decimals, we're looking at operations with decimals. So we'll look at addition, subtraction, multiplying, and dividing decimals. So first, we will look at addition and subtraction. So the rule for adding and subtracting decimals is you have to line up the decimals before you add or subtract. All right, so if we look at our first example, we have 82.635. We're looking for the sum. The sum means to add. All right, so we're adding 82.635, 325.68, and 53.47. So when we are going to add this, I'll just do it on the side here, we have to make sure we line up the decimals. So 82.635, then we have 325, so make sure you're lining up all the decimal places, like so. And then our last one, we have 53.47. All right, all neatly lined up. All my ones are together and so on. All right, so let's go ahead and add. So we have 5, we have 0, 0 here, so that just gives me 5. 7 plus 8 plus 3, that gives me 18. 4 and 6 is 10, plus 6 is 16, plus the 1 is 17. There's my decimal point. 8, 10, 11, 7, 15, 16, and then 1 and 3 gives me 4. All right, so the answer is 461.785. So our next example, we're looking for the difference. So we have 7,836.25, and we're subtracting. That's what difference means. And then we have 4,532.78. All right, so again, make sure all your places are lined up. All right, so we do have to do some borrowing here. This becomes 15. This will become 11. This will become 5. All right, then you can go ahead and subtract. So 15 minus 8, that is 7. 11 minus 7, that is 4. There's the decimal point. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. And 7 minus 4 is 3. All right, so there's our answer for the difference. Okay, so again, for adding and subtracting, make sure you're just lining up the decimals and the decimal places before you add or subtract. All right, so here is a couple for you guys to try. I'll pause here. All right, so we're looking for the sum. So again, that means addition. So we're just adding 699, and we're adding, well, the decimal point for 699 is right there. And then we have 73.95. Okay, so make sure that it's lined up properly. You can fill this in with zeros here, just so it makes more sense if you need to. So now you can go ahead and add. Okay, everything's lined up. So 0 plus 5, that's 5. 0 plus 9, that's 9. 9 plus 3, that's 12. 7, 9, and 1, that gives me 17. And then 6 and 1 gives me 7. So the answer is $772.95. The next one, we are adding distances because it is in kilometers. So again, we'll just line everything up. All right, and then we can go ahead and add. So again, if you need to fill in the zeros here, you can. You don't have to, but you can. Okay, so we end up with 4, 9, 3, and 5. That gives me 17. 8, 2, 6, and 1 is 17. Here's my decimal point. 6 and 4 is 10, 12, 13. And then 8, 11, and 12. So the answer is 123.774 kilometers in total. right, so our first example here on this slide, so 17.23 minus 3.59. So again, we do have to do our borrowing. So that becomes 13. This becomes 11. This becomes 6. So 13 minus 9, that's 4. 11 minus 5, that's 6. Put your decimal place there, or decimal point. 6 minus 3, that's 3. And then 1 minus, there's a 0 there. So we have 13.64. And it is looking at the dollar value. So there's $13.64 left over. Next one, 4.5 minus 3.06. So again, you could put your 0 there. So we do have to borrow. That becomes 10. And this becomes 4. 10 minus 6, that's 4. 4 minus 0, that's 4. And then 4 minus 3 is 1. So 1.44. Next, we're looking at multiplication of decimals. So when we're multiplying numbers with decimals, we do not need to line up the decimals. Okay? Lining up the decimals was just for adding and subtracting. So when we're multiplying here in our example, 4.54 and 2.5, we're just going to multiply. So 4.54 times 2.5. Okay, it's not lined up. We're just going to go ahead and multiply. So 4 times 5, that's 20. 5 times 5 is 25 plus the 2 gives me 27. Then 4 times 5 is 20 plus 2, 22. Put down a 0. Let's multiply these ones next. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. And then 2 times 4 is 8 plus the 1, which is 9. And then we add. So we have 0, 15, we have 3, and then we have 11. All right, so that's what it looks like, but we do have to account for those decimal places at the end. So if we look at the first number, there's 2 decimal places here, and then 1 decimal place here. So there's a total of 3 decimal places. All right, so going from the right, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and our decimal place goes right there. Okay, so the answer is 11.350. All right, so again, we just multiplied like normal, and then we're going to count our decimal places. There's 2 here and 1 here for a total of 3 decimal places. So then moving from the right, 1, 2, 3, there's our decimal point. Okay, in this example, all we are looking at here is the multiplication using the powers of 10. So if we look at each time, we're just multiplying 2.54. But when we multiply it by 10, we're just moving the decimal place 1 to the right. When we take 2.54 multiplied by 100, we've moved it 2 places to the right. When we multiply 2.54 times 1,000, we've moved our decimal place 3 to the right, and so on. So you see that pattern there, that the decimal place is moving to the right, the same number of places that there are zeros, right? So 1 0, we moved 1 to the right, 2 zeros, we moved 2 to the right, and so on. All right, I'm going to give you guys this one to try. James worked 16 hours at the grocery store last week. If he makes $8.25 per hour, how much money did he earn? All right, so again, I've set up the multiplication. So I'm just going to start multiplying like normal. So 5 times 6, that's 30. Then we have 12 plus 3, which is 15. Then we have 48 plus 1, which is 49. We'll put down a 0. And then 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 8 is 8. And then we'll just add. All right, so 0 and 0 is 0. 5 and 5, that gives me 10. 2, 9, 1, that gives me 12. And then 8 plus 4 plus 1, which is 13. Now, don't forget the decimal place, okay? He didn't make $13,200. We have to move our decimal place. So our decimal place is here, and then there's 2 decimal places there. Okay, so in total, there's just 2 places. So 1, 2, we put our decimal place right here. All right, so he made $132 that week. Lastly, we are looking at division with decimals. So here we have 21.58 divided by 8.3. So when we're setting up our division, we're going to move our decimal places. Okay, so we have to move the decimal place to the right of the divisor, and then you're going to you're going to move the decimal place the same number of places to the right in the dividend. Okay, and then after that, the decimal gets just placed directly above in the quotient. So if we have here 21.58 and it's being divided by 8.3. All right, so we're going to move the decimal place to make that a whole number. So we're moving it one place to the right. So that means we have to move it one place to the right in the dividend as well. All right, so now it becomes 215.8 is being divided by 83. All right, so now we can go ahead and divide. So how many times does 83 go into 215? I'm going to put my decimal place right above. All right, so you can just start multiplying to see the closest here. So 83 times 2, that is 166. So we have to get closest to 215. So let's see, 83 times 3, that is 249. So that goes over. So we'll use the 2. Okay, next we subtract. So recall long division. So we have to subtract 215 minus 166. This becomes 15. This becomes 10. And this becomes 1. All right, so when we subtract, we get 49. And then we'll bring down the 8. All right, so now how many times does 83 go into 498? So I'm just going to do it quickly here. 83 times 6 gives me 498. So I'll put my decimal place, my 6 up here to the right of the decimal place. And we're done because we have no remainder. So the answer is 2.6. All right, so again, why do we move it to the right? Because we wanted to make this one a whole number. Okay, so we moved it to the right, it became 83, therefore you have to move it to the right in the dividend as well. This slide is just showing, like we saw in multiplication, division using the powers of 10. So we have 25.4 dividing by 10. Our decimal place moved to the left, the same amount as the number of zeros in the divisor. So here 25.4 divided by 100, we're going to move it 2 to the left. 25.4 divided by 1,000, we're going to move it 3 to the left, and so on. Okay, so here we have another division question, so let's give this one a try. So just finishing this up then. So we have 9. It doesn't go into 5, so we'll just put a 0 here. And we'll put our decimal place right here. But 9 can go into 54. 9 times 6 gives me 54. And then we don't have any remainder left. So the answer is just 0.6. All right, so we'll stop there for today. The homework is already posted on the board, so just addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.